Well, very friendly hellos. Welcome to the first community call taking place for the Filecoin Plus program on December 3rd. This agenda is kind of mirroring the last couple of calls, and we'll be rebooting this coming back in 2025. So here's what we have laid out on the call. First is checking in on any open requests for DataCap refresh. So if you're on the line, we'll be going over where your application is, and we'll have time at the end of the call if you'd like to open up your application, if there's any questions or blocks that you want to get on. This is the perfect time to do so. We'll also update you on new signers for the root key holder, hopefully making that process faster. Tease coming templates, hopefully to make that refresh process faster as well. And then on a side note, we'll check in on organizations that have submitted requests to bring a new pathway into the Phil Plus program. So we'll talk about what that process looks like, check in on the 30 or so that we've received so far. And then for requests, we had 2 that like to join the call and either share updates on their application or start requesting feedback on their pathways. So I'll share that and we'll dedicate time. As always, we'll have lots of time if there's any topics that you want to dive into at the end of this call, or if we're talking about a topic and you want to take it the other way, feel free to raise a hand or comment in chat. The goal is that this is hopefully a conversation. Sometimes I'll just talk if there's no other topics coming up. So just think of this as your time, whatever you want to dive into, and the floor is yours as we go through it. All right, so with that, how do we get agenda items for this? I'll make an issue in GitHub right after the last call, and I'll date it. So you'll see the next one coming up for December 2017. And I'll just say, is there any topics that you'd like to discuss? And I'll list out what high-level agenda items, like, hey, here's the refresh, here's applications, here's new RFAs. So if anybody leaves a comment, I'll make sure to dedicate time so that they can either insert slides or have that. So wildly helpful. Just wanted to make sure everyone was aware of this feature, and the link's right here in the governance repo. All right, so calls. This is one of 2 left for 2024. One thing I'd like to call out is the time change. So I live in sunny California. We just rolled back our times. This meeting used to take place at 9 a.m. my time zone. Now it's 8 o'clock my time zone. We try to pin this meeting to the UTC time to make it really easy for everybody worldwide. If this is a pain or if it's broken for you, please let me know. And where I'm keen to know that is I'll be sending everybody who's an allocator pathway and everybody who's in our allocator channel, hey, what's working for you on coming to this meeting? Do the times still work at 16 and 02? Are there holidays that we should consider? I want to make sure I'm respectful of everybody's major holidays as we start laying the dates out. Then the format, right now it's an hour where updates usually take 20 minutes and then we can kind of get into it. Does it make sense to just make it 30 minutes and have dedicated office hours? So really looking for what your feedback is. Once we've collected this from existing pathways, then I'll share this wider with community members that might be interested in joining, making sure to give the highest weight to those of you that are already in the program. So love to get your feedback. Love to know how that goes. Please. All right, month over month updates. These are always fun just to check in. Happy little numbers, right? So 28 new clients received 78 petabytes of data from 65 of the active allocators that are programmed. So thank you for all that you do. Thanks for pushing that data. Looking forward to get you more DataCap as it goes through. So here's a quick check-in on the DataCap refresh. So Genesis, IPFSCN, and BDX, we've gotten your applications. 4 days ago was right around a US holiday for Thanksgiving. So you should see movement on that starting shortly. And that'll be members of the community or the Watchdog just saying, hey, these are the metrics that you shared. These are what we saw in reality. How can you explain the differences to it? So you should see that move very shortly. And then we're waiting on updates from 3 organizations, ZC Phil, Top Pool, and SFXXX. You have received a comment from Watchdog. We're just waiting for you to now come back and let us know, hey, is there anything we overlooked? Is there anything that Galen or the root key holder should know as they go forward? So friendly little plug, go check those out and leave us a comment. These final ones here, if your name's on this list, we should be all set. We've had a Watchdog review. You've left a comment, and we've been making those initial passes with Galen to get this all ready for the root key holder. So you'll see a comment coming through this week with either the full distribution or a throttle that's coming back. What's getting nice is that as we've had these applications come up 2-3 times, We're starting to get more of a template going. And there are some folks like Kern Logic, apologies on the time frame that it's taken for this one. This is the only one that was not a manual pathway. So how do we verify this going forward? So again, thanks for your patience on this one. Everybody on this list, you should see that final comment come through from Galen, which will then trigger that root key holder to disperse the funds next week. The goal is to get these all out before the holiday break comes up for the states, which is around 3 weeks. So we should have in time for another cycle as we go forward. And one of the things, just to keep you updated, we've got this feedback as we went from a big LDN to individual allocators is it broke the timeline for speedy, fast DataCap to come back. So we've heard that feedback. Thank you. And as we wait for the meta allocators to come on board, there's two things that you'll see kick off right now. Number one is that we added another signer to the root key holder. This was the feedback we got in the first week of December, late October was, why are these applications which are already approved now waiting for a root key holder to come through and sign it? Good feedback, heard you loud and clear. So Galen made an issue, kind of described that there's been another addition to the root key holders on that, which will bring an SLA that they've committed to for 3 days, which means once it's been approved by Galen, once it's been sent to that multi-sig, it should take no longer than 3 days, business days, I should say, for the root key holder to come through, approve that, and sign it. So that should really increase that portion. The second is templates. Big props to Marta from Fiddle, who's on the call. Marta, big thank you. Marta put together a template that you should see launch live, probably going live right now on this call. And we've talked about this for collecting the needed information. Sometimes what slows these applications down is you'll share some information, then Watchdog, then you, then Galen, then Watchdog. And every time there's a back and forth, it usually takes a couple of days to get those resolved. So the hope is collect as much information upfront to slow down that back and forth. So what Marta from Fiddle has done is she's created this new template, and this is all the things that she's seen the Watchdog ask, Galen ask, new applications put forward. So hopefully that can all be collected up front and eliminate those days back and forth. I will say this will make the paperwork part of it a little bit longer. So right now, if you file the new issue for DataCap refresh, probably takes what, 3 or 4 minutes. If you're having to collect all this, I would say the estimated time to file this refresh is probably 15 or 20, because you'll have to go pull your own numbers, share the links that's coming through. But again, that investment of 10 or 15 minutes should save us days on the back and forth. So again, thank you to Fiddle, thank you to Marta. It's going to go a long way. I'll pause and see if anybody has anything for chat or that before we go on from the DataCap refresh. All right, you can always come back if anything's coming up. Applications to become a new allocator pathway. We've had this on the agenda for a few points. I'm bringing it up because we're going to have an end of year closeout, and I wanted to make sure we were highly transparent in this and make sure that everybody who's impacted had questions and get you set up for success. So at a high level, there's 2 points that I want to make sure that the community is aware of. Number one is when applying to become an allocator, the pathway should be ready to go. Meaning that if you're still working on designing the market structure or designing the tooling, that's wonderful. But to onboard it, it's just not ready. So what we've asked is anybody who submitted a request to become an allocator pathway that wasn't already, we've said, look, if you are a manual pathway, we already have 60 of these. There should be some clear, distinct benefit to the networking community to onboarding 61, 62, 600. What do you bring? So we've been waiting for those manual organizations to come back and tell us, hey, this is what's different, demonstrating their ability. The second type of pathway that was applied was the RFAs. So these could be client-based, market, fill in the blanks. What we've asked these pathways to do is what makes them different from a manual pathway. So if you say you're market-based on fees or you're going to track these, how? Can we see the MVP? Can we see the tooling? Because what we found in the first round that we onboarded is we brought on almost 20 of these pathways that were developing these toolings, and they still haven't made those DataCap applications. So we're going to be sunsetting anybody coming up in Q1 of 2024 that still hasn't made their DataCap issuance, but there's really no value to onboard a pathway that's not ready. So we've asked any pathways that are working on this tooling, we will then close that issue. And once you've got your tooling ready, once you've got your market ready, once you've got your website ready, and it's operational and good to go, just reopen the application, share that, and then you'll be all set. So again, if you've applied for these, you should have an MVP ready. If not, we'll just close it and then come back when you want to go. You'll also see on this slide, one of the things I've heard from some applications is they have to apply to get DataCap so that they can actually do the testing. Well, good news, if that applies to you, I've left the comment, just making sure that everyone's aware. Fiddle runs a pathway where you can get that test DataCap, very similar to how Glyph had their old pathway. So if you're looking for a small amount of DataCap that you can verify your tooling works, you do not have to apply to become a full-blown allocator to receive that. You can apply to Fiddle, the website's right here, and Fiddle can issue you a small amount of testing DataCap so you can get that good to go. So I know that this will impact around 30 organizations. I'll be leaving the comment, but the root of this is if an organization has this MVP ready, love it, we'll work with you, get you onboarded. If you need more time to create that, we're going to close out that application, just reopen it when you have your tooling ready, and love to work with you as you come back. Once you do, as again, we're looking for descriptions in these applications. One of the things that I saw when I read through these is it will ask a question like, how does diligence get performed? And it will just be a ChatGPT answer with very no specific business plan. What we're looking for is a way to verify that if we give DataCap to this organization, they'll be a good steward of it. So this can be done because we either know you, you've come to conferences, you've been in the community, you shared blog posts. And if we haven't seen you in the community, we'd be looking for like, what have you set up to make this work? So if the answer is only like, we'll collect client fees, something very basic, it's going to result in the application saying we need a lot more information and closing it and going forward. So again, if you have questions, this rubric is a great way to say like, what is a good answer and what does a bad answer look like? And I'd also highly recommend organizations looking to apply to become a pathway, look at other successful organizations that have onboarded data or reach out. And props, because we have two on the call today that asked for some time that are in that very same boat. So before I kind of hand the floor over and talk about theirs, I'll pause and see if anybody'd like to discuss, have questions on the topic of new organizations joining the program. All right. All right. All right. Well, hey, let's see if we've got them on the call. So first one is Starry. Starry, are you here? I'm going to guess it's probably the middle of the night. For you, Nina, I see your hand. Floor is yours.
Hello, Kevin. Hello.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Can you hear
Yeah,
me?
we got you great. We hear you.
Okay. This is Nina from Love Storage, and I would like to ask if there has been any progress on the Allocator application. We have recorded a video demonstrating how to use our contract, but we have not received any feedback yet. Could you please let me know if there anything else we need to do?
I love it. Nina, let's do this. I had you following Starry. Let's put you up right
Okay.
now. Is it okay if I introduce you, and would you feel comfortable sharing some information on this call?
It's okay for me.
All right. Let me get this up. So I'm going to pull up the application so we can see it. So Nina, thanks for coming. What I'm sharing on the screen is your organization's request to onboard as an allocator. So for everybody on the call and watching through, this was filed, and this is a request for onboarding, and it was a client staking. So that means that an application would then post up an amount of fill that would then go to Laugh Storage. Laugh Storage would hold that client staking in some kind of a pool that they would spell out how that pool works, and then issue DataCap to that client based off that staking. And the client should meet those expectations. Otherwise, Laugh Storage has some system. So what we're looking for is, okay, what is that system of how the client posts their staking? How is that staking tracked and monitored and made transparent? And then what is the third coming up? Like, how do we verify this whole process is working in place? So maybe about a month ago, we shared like, hey, this is what we're looking for. Can you like answer some of these in more detail? And Nina, if I'm hearing you correctly, you posted some of this here and you put together this video for us that we could take a look at. So what I'd like to do, would you like me to play the video or would you like to summarize, it's a short one, like 3 minutes, what you're looking for on the next stages of that?
I'm not sure about that. And this is just a demonstrate contract. And we got more information from our technique guy. We can contact you after this meeting through GitHub, if that okay.
That works out well. What I would
Okay, I
recommend
will.
is, I apologize. So today is December 3rd. It looks like your last comment was November. I was gone for FDS and then I took a 2-week vacation and then we went right into Thanksgiving. So thanks for your patience and then we'll hopefully get this through. One thing that I would answer on this one, and I'll put a comment on it, is the video is great, but having like an MVP is really the decider on like, how do we actually give you this? So when I watch that video, what I'm looking for is how can I share that MVP with, say, Will from Fiddle for like a technical explanation, or Winan from Decent, or anybody that's out there in the community that might be able to say, look, if I was to use it, these are the things that I see going forward. So one of the points that I would raise on this application for client staking in this video is, can we, the community, or we, the governance, or we, anybody else, actually get in and start clicking around this client staking tool? So I know we have the video sharing it. The next step would be sharing the MVP, sharing the code base so that we could take a look. Is that where you are in the process right now? And again, the question, Nina, and I'll put it here, is when can we see the tool? So right now we have a video talking about the development of the tool. It's when will your staking tool be ready? Is it ready now or does it need a few months?
Um, I'm kind of need a few minutes,
No
but no
problem at all.
worries. Oh, okay, but no worries. I will pass those information to our technique guy and contact you at the GitHub after this meeting.
That sounds great. And I'll leave some comments and follow up. But again, I wanted to say thanks. Thanks for coming to this call. Thanks for flagging this. This makes it really easy to kind of communicate, move forward, and go through. Hunter, I see your question in chat. Give me just a moment. I'll go to Starry and then probably circle right back and we'll pull yours up too if that works. So one other application that we had, this was new. This came through right before Thanksgiving US. This comes from Starry. They're based in Hong Kong. And what this application is using client fees to kind of tie back into it. And they asked for feedback on this call before I kind of put it in. So Starry, I don't see your name here on chat. If you're on the call and have a different name, love it. Say hi. Maybe you're on the next call. What I would tell you and anybody else that's kind of submitted an application is, for this client fee, it should be very clear how the monetization works. So if we held this is like, you will do these things going forward, when I look at this application, there's nothing about how fees are collected, how fees are tracked, how fees are maintained. There's just no description on that. And so what that kind of tells me as someone that's looking at this with fresh eyes for the first time is that this is more of a manual process because there's no tooling, there's really no going forward on that. And the other thing is the client diligence check. So in this application, it just says that there will be a client's diligence check. But what does that mean? So if I come to you as an application and I say I'm prepared to like post a fee for the data cap and then I'm going to do these things, how is this any different that you're going to verify the standards? How are you going to make sure that I hold that data, that I'm putting that up there as I say I will? So really spelling that out there is what's needed in this application for it to go forward. So I'll spell that out for you, kind of like the other ones, but it should be very crystal clear on like how that will go back. And the other thing that I would leave for you is this website here. Thanks for putting this together, this Phil Starry. Let me pull it up here. There's not a lot to kind of test on this. So let me share this with screen. I just wanted to make sure that when we have this client side, do we need to have like a login? How is that time? And like kind of giving some more description. So I know that you had started to put that on there. I just wanted to see what more you can give. Really having the monetization schedule and the client checks is what's going to be needed on this one to kind of take it to the next level. So thanks for that. And if you have any questions watching this or coming back, feel free to tag me and I'll put up, happy to do office hours, walk through, whatever I can do to help you with that. All right. Hunter, I see your question in chat. Let me pull you up. 76, I'm shooting from the hip. So give me just a little bit of time to kind of orient. So you are medical data. You're coming from the greater China region. You've got your multi-sig and you're doing a similar pathway. So what that's telling me is that this is a manual review of medical research data that you would be doing. So what I'd be looking for in this application, Hunter, is very clear understanding of like, what is medical data? How will you do this better than the other 65 allocators that are currently reviewing manual data as it goes forward? And then how will you hold the standards that you give to a client and make sure that they're maintained? So let me take a look here in Orient. So let me come down and see what notes I've left in the past. All right, so what I had asked is back in October, again, that this is pretty much a manual diligence, which is okay, but we already have 65 of these. So how can we verify that this one is all set up and good to go? So it looks like you stored data under RF fill. And then I said, okay, can we have that application? It looks like you came back here and you've kind of spelled that out. So what I'll do now is coming back here after leave is let me follow up with RF fill and some of our data stewards to kind of see this. What we'll be looking for in this is the information. Let me pull this up. I think the last I had set with you, we didn't have much that you were on this. Let me pull it up here. That's great. Hunter, what I'm going to do is I'm going to follow up with you outside of this application back into this one. And what we'll be looking for is the relationship with RF fill. Like, how did that come about? Like, how are you guys doing this? And then just kind of a commitment on understanding how you can onboard this with the medical data, like kind of tying this in. Thanks for flagging. I'm going to make a note of this on my board, and Hunter will follow up today with you on where that progress stands and what more you could do. This is looking good. Appreciate the time. Hunter, did you have any questions for me on that? All right. Too easy. Hunter, if it comes up, let me know. I'll write that back on it. So we're at exactly 30 minutes. This is kind of voting for like maybe we change the call length to 30 minutes going forward in 2025. But open forum, is there anything on anyone's mind, anything that they want to pull up, look at, dive into? The floor is yours.
Yeah, sorry, Kevin, that I missed the first part of the call. I was a little bit late joining. I understand that you started work just today and that you had a 2 weeks holiday. When will you pick up? Where we left?
For your DataCap refresh application, or
Yes.
which one? Yeah, I
Well,
think you guys.
we tried to contact you, but we had no response. So we understood you were on vacation. So, but I understand you just got back to work. So if you mind putting it on your list for this week, that would be very helpful.
Yeah, I got you guys. All right, let me follow up with the descent today. I'll see. I think there was nothing blocking, so you would just be waiting for like the tie-in from Galen. If there's anything blocking, I could quickly identify that. Make sure that that doesn't linger.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for flagging. All right, we'll do one last open call. Nina, I see your hand. Floor is yours.
Okay, here. And I just sent the website on our group chat, and this tool has been fully developed and be ready to testing.
Wonderful.
You can see that,
this.
yeah, you can see that on our GitHub repo.
I'm just going to link this in the issue.
Yeah.
And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to follow up with somebody a million times smarter than me in the testing of this. It's Will Scott from Fiddle, and I'll see if he can give us some input on this. Again, what we'd be looking for is this tooling ready? So if we say thumbs up, you're approved as an allocator, can we now start using this tooling today? Or is it need a couple of months? So that'll be some of the next level of questions that we come back to you with.
Okay, that's fine. I will contact you later.
Yeah, that sounds great. And again, thanks for coming to the call. Thanks for making this. Makes it a lot faster to kind of work with.
Thank you for answering me those questions.
Oh, of course. Neil, I just saw your comment, so I'm just going to pull this up before I kill it. Were you looking for just feedback on this one, or what would you like to dive into on this? What would be the most helpful for you? I tell you what, I'll start talking, and then whatever you want, just put it in chat. So, Neil, when I looked at this one, this is an application to be a new allocator pathway that's joining. It would be a similar allocator pathway, so a manual review and address at a later date. So, one thing that, like, right off the bat, I might see it when I scroll down, but having that ledger already set up, it means like I'm ready to go. So we had a little bit of allowances on the last one for some of the pathways that were transitioning the notaries to allocators. But if you're joining as a new allocator pathway, you should have that on-chain address already set up. So high recommendation to get that if I don't see that later on. And then the allocator description, what I would tell you, and I think I might have left this later on it, you're doing online education platforms, reliable education. So what I would see, I would guess, is that when I'm looking at like your focus, is it education data or is it everything across the board? So like we pulled up, I think it was Laugh Storage earlier, it was just medical data. What I'd be curious to know is like, what do you specialize in? Like, do you have a pulse on people that already have large amounts of data that they need to store, and you're going to help bring that data to the Filecoin network? Or how does it go forward? Because it looks like it's a lot of educational. If that's the case, love it. And that's what we'd like to dive into. Who are the educational clients? How are you working with them? How are you helping? When we have the monetization and fee structure, good. Love it. As we go through, that's fine to leave this blank if we're running as a manual pathway as we're doing it. And then the client diligence check, we should really bulk this up. So when I look down lower on this application, hopefully I'm seeing a lot more on like what the client's diligence check is. Is it a third-party system? If so, what is that third party? Synapse, Toggle, you tell me. Do you know these people? Like, hey, we've been in the storage business. We've been working in this field for years. These are our existing clients. They have this problem. We're working with them. And the way we do our KYC is like, I have an email, I have a business license, and I have a known reputation. Really spelling that out. And that's kind of what you start to do here in the multi-step. So we have a comprehensive verification process, really knowing like what this is. When I kind of read this, this is hard for me to give this to Galen if we ever had to like do an audit and say, what is the identity verification and business credentials? Again, do you get an email? Do you check their business license? Is there some third-party system? Listing that out for a manual pathway is going to be like the bar for these as we go forward. And it looks like for the enterprise or paying clients, this might come back to like when we have a paying client, but then we have no monetization fee schedule. Please spell out the difference on that. Like, why is there going to be a paid client in some deals, but there's no monetization and fee in others? So that'll be, again, one of the reasons why this would like hit a roadblock or really not be thought out to the point where it has this big investment. And let's see what else. The type of data, it's public, open, and retrievable. So again, we'd be looking at, okay, these are education clients that you're focused on. I might just not know the business, and which is why we love to have allocators like yourself. I wouldn't assume that education data would be open. Like I could just Google a result for a school. So really kind of spelling out if the data is public, open, and retrievable, how does that relate to the education field? Or is this just going to be pulling common crawl data that we're onboarding for the 14th time? So really spelling out that type of data is going to be helpful as we go through it. Diligence on this, we'd be looking at the tools, utilizing blockchain and proofs, really saying what the tools are. Again, the point of this application is to say we're ready to go. And if there's ever a problem in the future, this is what we said we would do, and we would go through it. So like with the replicas, that's a high number, 4, that's great. But if that's like the replica standard that's going forward, that would be going through it. Equal distribution across regions, again, that's very difficult to do. Kind of spelling out why and how that's going to be done with these clients. Do you have them all laid out, and the storage providers? And then the last thing that I would leave, and this is probably in the notes, if it's highly retrievable over Spark, what does that mean? Is that 12%? Is that 80%? So that way, if we do onboard this and come back and there's not like an 80%, okay, what did high retrievability mean? So kind of leaving a comment that goes forward on that goes a long way. So high level, that's what we're looking at. Let's see what kind of talks we had. So great, you've got the update on the address. Love it as we go through. You've got this. You applied 2 weeks ago. We're kind of looking. So what I left you is come to this call. You did that. Great job. And then one of the things that you've answered back is that you're looking for getting involved in 2021. Okay, remember this. Okay, I left you the comment on the Spark retrievability. Left you the comment on the existing allocator pathways. Let's see. The application, and you got it. It looks like just before we went out, you had this. So Neil, what I'm going to do is I'm going to follow up same way with, I think it was Hunter on 771, is I'm going to test the retrievability on this application that you shepherd through, and then leave you any feedback as it comes through on the study block. So Neil, what I'll do is I'll leave that note in the application or any questions that thank you for working with this. And I'll do the same thing with Hunter on 71, kind of give back for any comment. Works out great. Neil, thanks for coming. Thanks for flagging that. I'll get a response and get you updated. All right. One last call. Well, happy December, everybody. Need anything at all, just send me a text and I get back. So I owe responses to you, Winan, Hunter, Nina, and then Study Block. I'll give you guys those updates and I'll pick them out. Thanks, everyone. Cheers.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure if that how we could actually progress it. I've spoken to so far Andrew, and but more importantly, from our point of view, from Origin Storage point of view, we need the funding to actually, have a hot storage. And then I've written down a deck I've sent to Andrew as well on how this allocator program will work. It will require a different set of a different set of tweak in the technology that's provided. First of all, on the underlying, it should work like in my slides I put it as erasure coding, but it should work like a BitTorrent where the chunks are stored in a redundant manner across multiple maybe storage, and then and it will feel like there's another Filecoin would have to actually work on the technology portion for this to work. Like it feels like that. And yeah, I'm not sure how I can actually push this forward because both I see there are both interest in protocol labs, Filecoin, as well as World to actually launch this. And I am Origin Storage is ready to actually be the one facilitating this work. I know you guys have worked with Cardano recently, and I think that this is a very good opportunity. Yeah.
Nice. So if I'm hearing you correctly, the conversation is around how does like the funding work from the foundation and PL. I can't speak to PL, but I could speak to Filecoin Foundation. If I'm sharing screen correctly, what you're looking at is the phil.org grant page. And this has
Mm.
all the information on like where to come, how to apply, what's going to be looking at it. Rather than just take you through the links, I'll tell you that some of the big things that I've seen with grants that were not approved, and this might help you as you start to kind of look at it, is grants usually go to programs that have like demonstrated development. Like it's demonstrated that it's successful, it's demonstrated that it's working. And I've seen grants not go to programs that are like, we want to do. So if you have this set up, I would recommend having it like fully flushed out, some type of operational procedure as you take a look at this. But I'm not heavily involved in the grants. So I don't want to kind of like tell you anything that's outside of my lane or I
Mm.
am authorized to speak with. But this page that I'm hearing right now, this is the best for like, how do the grants work? Where do you apply? What are the open steps and what would they need from
I see. Okay.
it?
Thank you. Then I will just apply for it. And what I hope to see is what I feel that it will be more comforting to see is that between PL, Filecoin, and Filecoin Foundation, there will be a communication on this instead of a silo, three-way communication that I will have to do. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that probably to prep you, it is siloed. There's not a lot of cross commingling of the funds between the foundation and now the PL or whatever
Mm.
we're going to call it. But this will
Yeah.
probably be the best step. So I put the link there in chat. Let me know if you have questions. But again, this is kind of outside of like what I understand very well in the program. So I would just be kind of
Mm-hmm.
helping you grab the links or whatever I can do to route.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Hey, of course, of course. Batman, I see you joined the call. Thanks. We just decided since there's just a few of us, rather than just regurgitating the slides, just to kind of chat and go over anything that might be top of mind. I'll put the slides here in chat. They're in Slack as well. But Batman, if there's anything that we can get for you, answer, dive into, just kind of like whatever I can get for you. Water drop, same thing. If there's anything you want to look over, I'm going to pull up yours here while I multitask and see if there's anything I could look at for you or help answer as we might wait. Pull it up. Water drop, I don't know what it is you guys might be here for. I know that on this morning's call, we had the folks over from this application here, this Unifont, and what they were essentially doing is applying to be a pathway that is essentially another manual pathway. And so since there are like 60 plus manual pathways that are all kind of established in the community, we've calmed, we know who they are, they have good reputation. We're kind of holding any new applications to a pretty high bar. And we've asked them to onboard data with a customer that's already in the program. So it looks like they've been working with you on this application number 5. I have been out of the office on leave and then just kind of coming back and jumping into this. So essentially what I've been asking them is like, hey, what's going on with the ledger and what are we going to be doing with it? So if you have any input or anything you wanted to add, please let it know. And I think what I'll do is I'll reach out to those allocator pathways that have essentially worked with these new organizations that wish to onboard and have some kind of a system. Like, would you put your reputation on the line? So if we did bring this organization on, do you vouch that their metrics will be what they say? And if not, why or why not? So that might be some of the things that we ask you in the coming days. If there's anything I can get you, Waterdrop, please let me know. Yeah, Fat Man, I noticed this too. On the morning call, we had about maybe 20, 25. And I think there's 2 reasons why there's only a few of us on the call right now. One is the time change. I've noticed this just being in the program for a while that when the time zones change, I'm probably going to get a few DMs here in about 45 minutes asking what time the call is. And then 2, just wondering if the content still lines up. So we used to have these calls and it would be really productive as we get new pathways set up. And I think right now with a lot of the allocator pathways, functioning pretty well, having a really clear vision, there's not a lot of high need to engage. So we've kind of been looking at this. This point number 3 is what I've been thinking about, where the updates are really quick, like 5 minutes tops on like, hey, here's new updates. Here's what you might want to see. Then the rest of these governance calls are support things like issues that Ken and I were talking about for Origin, anything that might interfere with Waterdrop. And it can be more support, unblocking, and prioritizing. So hopefully we'll have that go forward. But yeah, I've seen the same thing as far as like, what's the best value for this, for the community, and just making sure that there's a forum. Well, just a few. What I'll do is I'll open it up and see if you guys have anything else I can get for you, run down. If not, what I may do is just turn off my webcam, keep the call open in case somebody joins a little bit late, give them any support they need. But other than that, I think that might be the end of any kind of formal structure on this second call as we have going. So open question, Waterdrop, Fat Man, Ken, is there anything I can get for you guys? Rock and roll. All right, I'll have the earbud in if anything changes. I'll keep an eye on this in case anyone joins. Otherwise, I'll pause the recording and just hang out on the call. All the best to you guys. Cheers.